Welcome back to Ghostfire Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we take a deep dive into Max, formerly known as HBO Max. And let's get to the list.
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
Hereditary is a 2018 supernatural psychological horror movie. Written and directed by Ari Aster in his feature film debut, it stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, and Millie Shapiro. The film follows a grieving family, haunted by a mysterious presence, after the death of their secretive grandmother.
Who's gonna take care of me?
You don't think I'm gonna take care of you?
But when you die...
So I got a confession to make. I have never seen this movie from beginning to end. Because when it came out, I was dealing with a whole bunch of stuff and just didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. Then I had it spoiled for me, and at that point I was just like, I knew all the spoilers, and this is one of those movies that if you know a lot of the big moments, it just seems like not really worth your time. And I planned to check it out numerous times, and just for whatever reason, I never ended up watching it until now. And I gotta say, this is an absolute masterpiece. I get if some people are not into it. You know, I definitely understand if this is not your jam. It's really a slow burn. It does a lot in dread and uncomfortability and sadness and tragedy. It's just not really a fun watch. But damn it if this movie doesn't get scary and chilling and absolutely savage. I think even if this isn't your jam, you should still be able to see the quality of film this is and just how well crafted every element of it, the pacing, the way the cinematography looks, the set design, the acting, everything about this movie is absolutely incredible. And Toni Collette, I've heard people mention this before, that she really deserved an Academy Award for this, at least a nomination. This goes to show you that the Oscars are a bunch of bullshit, because her performance in this is absolutely amazing. I put it right up there with some of the performances I've seen by Rebecca Hall. And if you're like me and for whatever reason you've never given this movie a shot, I think it's time you do, because it really is as good as all the hype. This really is the gold standard of what modern horror movies can be. So most definitely check this one out. The Faculty is a 1998 sci-fi horror movie, directed by Robert Rodriguez and written by Kevin Williamson. It stars Clea Duvall, Elijah Wood, and Josh Hartnett. When Casey Connor, Harrington High School's newspaper photographer, witnesses the murder of a nurse and sees her alive again, he decides to investigate the bizarre happenings.
Get off of me! Jesus!
So I wanted to follow Hereditary up with something much more light and fun, because this list isn't all made up of dark horror, and that's not my favorite thing. I love all types of horror, and especially movies like this that are just lighthearted and just fun, full of action and excitement, with some creepy alien creature designs that, yes, I know the CGI, especially towards the end, it isn't the greatest, but I think if you look past that and just enjoy it for what it is, because the late 90s, early 2000s horror, I just love them. Yes, they're not something you can take serious. There are plot holes and the acting isn't always amazing, but they're a lot of fun, and this is one of my favorites from that era. So if you're just looking to have a good time, relax, and just be entertained by something, this is a fantastic pick.
I want to go with you wherever you go.
Do you?
Yes.
Then look!
The Brood.
The Brood is a 1979 psychological body horror movie. Written and directed by David Cronenberg, it stars Oliver Reed, Samantha Eggar, and Art Hindle. A man tries to uncover an unconventional psychologist therapy techniques on his institutionalized ex-wife amidst a series of brutal murders. So if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know that Cronenberg is one of my absolute favorite filmmakers. And this is one of the ones that just kind of flies under the radar, but it's one of my favorites of his because it's quite a bit different than his other movies. It has this mysterious whodunit kind of quality that just has you guessing and trying to figure out what's going on until it has this absolutely shocking conclusion. So if you're a fan of any level of David Cronenberg, this is one I highly recommend because, like I said, not a lot of people talk about this one. It really flies under the radar, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how well this one holds up, how entertaining and unique it is. It's definitely one you should check out.
How shall be? From evil I will turn to thee.
Receive the report.
The Witch is a 2015 folk horror movie, written and directed by Robert Eggers in his feature film debut. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Ineson, and Kate Dickie. A family set in 1630s New England is torn apart by forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession.
Boom!
So this is another one that I consider to be a modern day classic. And I think it's only going to get more respect and love over time because of just how well crafted it is. Because now that we've seen a few Robert Eggers movies, we realize what a master filmmaker he is. Just the attention to detail, how much he cares about every single element of the movie, especially the way they look. And as someone who loves the way movies look, like that is probably my favorite thing about movies, just the way he shoots them, the style, the way the cinematography looks and camera angles, the way he explores with the camera and just pulls you along as he investigates the scenery. It's just phenomenal. And this is absolutely up there as far as dread-filled, slow burn, artistic horror movies. And as far as modern movies, it's one of the best to do it. It reminds me in a lot of ways of stuff from the 70s. Just the way those slow burns, the 60s, later 60s and 70s, the way those slow burn movies feel. But I also get this isn't for everyone because, like I said, it's very much a slow burn, artsy movie. Doesn't have a lot of action. It's really built on the dread and uncomfortability and just the sad, tragic feeling that envelops you throughout. And the performances by the entire cast are so believable and powerful. I think if you're a fan of artsy, slow burn, indie horror, this has gotta be at the top of your list.
What are we gonna do?
We have got to get off this boat now.
Bon voyage.
Ghost Ship is a 2002 supernatural horror movie. Directed by Steve Beck, it stars Gabriel Byrne, Juliana Margulies, and Desmond Harrington. The story follows a marine salvage crew in the Bering Sea who discover a mysterious ocean liner that disappeared in 1962.
No crew, no captain, no mention of anything in the ship's log. What do you make of that?
A ghost ship.
So this is another one of those late 90s, early 2000 movies that is cheesy and definitely has holes, not the greatest acting. Yeah. I get it. The CGI is not the best, but man, oh man, is this movie so fun. And it has what I consider to be the absolute most savage, brutal cold opening of any movie ever made. But once again, it's not a movie to take too serious. It's just a fun popcorn horror movie, but it's another one that I just have so much fun with every time I watch it. It just puts a smile on my face. It's one of those that kind of reminds me of a roller coaster ride. You don't think about it. It's not all about seriousness. It's about just being entertained and having fun with. This is something that's not going to be for everyone because a lot of people don't consider this a very good movie. I'm not going to even argue that, but I would argue that it's a fun movie if you can just kind of check your brain at the door a little bit, not overthink it, not try to pick it apart, and just go in and enjoy what it is. Just enjoy it for what it is, but not for what it isn't. So I think if you've never seen this and you're looking just to have fun and be entertained and grab your popcorn kind of thing, then definitely check this one out.
You're safe now.
Safe from what?
The Night House is a 2020 psychological horror movie. Directed by David Bruckner, it stars Rebecca Hall, Sarah Goldberg, and Evan Jonikit. The plot's about a widow who begins to uncover her recently deceased husband's dark secrets.
It's our house. But backwards. What the hell was he doing?
So I mention this movie every chance I get, because it just has never gotten the love that I think it deserves. Because it's not a fun movie. It is a tragic, dark, disturbing, slow burn kind of movie, and those just don't usually get a whole lot of publicity. I get it. But for me, this movie was extremely powerful, and one of the few in recent memories that actually disturbed me, stuck with me, actually got under my skin, and made me very, very uncomfortable. Because without getting into the spoilers of it, the way they handle a certain subject and the way they show things is very unique and different, and like nothing I've really ever seen before. I also really enjoy how David Bruckner uses light. He's able to make something feel extremely dark and gloomy kind of thing, but without making it to where you can't see anything. Because so many movies that try to capture this dark, nighttime scenes or in dark houses or whatever, the way they shoot them, you can't see anything. So it's hard to be scared or uncomfortable if you have no idea what you're looking at. But he's able to capture that in such a really phenomenal way that it feels like it's night. It feels dark and like you can't see, but at the same time, you're able to still see everything. It's this really fun psychological trick that he's able to pull with the way that he shoots his films. So it's no secret that I love this movie. It was my #1 pick in 2021. So if you have yet to see it, I highly recommend you check it out.
This is the new horror from the mind of Stephen King. Graveyard Shift.
Graveyard Shift is a 1990 horror movie, directed by Ralph S. Singleton and based on a short story by Stephen King. It stars David Andrews, Stephen Bichette, and Brad Dourif. In an old mill with a serious rat infestation, deadly accidents start happening, but the corrupt foreman continues to put his workmen in danger until they uncover a horrifying secret deep in the basement.
This place is infested.
That might be the understatement of the year.
This is another really fun one that just doesn't get as much love as it should. It's one of my favorite Stephen King movies. It's really a trip, I think, that it doesn't get talked about more, especially with Chucky and how much people love Brad Dourif. This is one of my favorite performances by him. He's just absolutely wild in this movie. But I'm also a rat lover. I have 2 rats of my own, and they're just so cute and so funny in this movie. I know that for a lot of people, it's uncomfortable and gross to see a bunch of rats like that, but this is a lighthearted, entertaining good time that goes completely off the deep end towards the end. It is just wild, but it's a fantastic little movie that I highly recommend.
I've got so much power to give you. All you have to do is beg.
Lord of Illusions is a 1995 neo-noir supernatural horror movie. Written and directed by Clive Barker, it stars Scott Bakula, Kevin J. O'Connor, and Famke Janssen. The story focuses on a private eye who has several experiences with the supernatural, embarking on an investigation involving a stage illusionist and a cult led by a powerful, evil sorcerer.
Nix is dead and buried. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Haven't you seen enough to know that doesn't matter?
This is personally one of my all-time favorite movies. And as much as people love Clive Barker, this film is rarely mentioned. And not only did he write this, but he directed it. It's one of only 4 movies that he directed. And I love all 4. Every single one of the movies that he directed, I think, are fantastic. And it's why, as wild as it sounds, I consider him to be one of the greatest horror directors of all time. I think a lot of people consider him to be one of the greatest writers, but he's also one of the greatest directors. But this is such an interesting blend of mystery and whodunit, just that old school gumshoe kind of mystery with supernatural cult vibes that just go crazy and are a lot of fun. Like, there's some visuals in this movie that are so cool. Yes, some of the CGI doesn't hold up, but I think it actually gives it some charm because the type of CGI that is used in this is very apparent that it's really, really early CGI and it's super stylized, so it isn't It doesn't necessarily throw you out of it. It just has this weird charm to it. At least for me, that's how I see it. I love this movie. I think Scott Bakula is phenomenal in it. It gets wild and goes into so many different directions. You could definitely feel Clive Barker all over this project. But I think it's a real hidden gem and one that you absolutely need to add to your list.
It's fucking hard, man.
The Green Room is a 2015 horror thriller written and directed by Jeremy Solner. It stars Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots, and Patrick Stewart. The film focuses on a small underground punk band who find themselves attacked by a neo-Nazi skinhead group after witnessing a murder.
Holy shit.
I told you to follow. Stop! No!
This is one of the very top A24 movies. It is amazing. The tempo at which it happens, it does start off a little bit slow, but once this movie gets going, this is definitely not what you would call a slow burn. It is so intense, on the edge of your seat, graphic, brutal, just full of action, disturbing elements, the visuals in it, the acting. Wow, Patrick Stewart is terrifying. It's weird to think of him in that way. And when you go into this movie, at first you're like, yeah, you know, how am I gonna see you as a villain? I love you as Picard. Like, that's who he is, right? But he is incredible, so intense. His performance, just his eyes, he feels completely authentic in this role and absolutely horrific. And Anton Yelchin is brilliant in this, like he always was. Unfortunately, he passed away way too young. But his performance in this is definitely one of my favorites of his. He just really becomes this character so believable, so committed to this indie movie. But it gets scary and intense and really will wipe you out. And by the end of this movie, you will feel exhausted because it just puts you through it. But I think it's a phenomenal movie and one that I highly recommend.
You don't want to wake up, do you?
Under the Skin is a 2013 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Jonathan Glazer and loosely based on a 2000 novel by Michelle Faber. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Adam Pearson, and Paul Brannigan. Disguising itself as a human female, an extraterrestrial drives around Scotland attempting to lure unsuspecting men into her van. Once there, she seduces them and sends them into another dimension where they are nothing more than meat.
Come to me.
What an incredible movie this is. You almost cannot recognize Scarlett Johansson in this. And it's really impressive to me because she was already getting that big Marvel money. And so you know she didn't get much of any compensation for doing this movie. And it's one of those tiny indie horror movies that just almost nobody saw upon its release either. But little by little, it started to gain more and more traction, respect, and now it has a pretty legitimate cult following, and it really deserves that because it is a fantastically shot movie. Scarlett Johansson just fully commits to this role. She really feels this weird, strange quality that is just never quite right. So yes, she kind of seems like a human, but never quite right. And it gets so disturbing. It gets so creepy. There's so many weird scenes in this that just make you absolutely uncomfortable. But it is a slow burn, so you got to kind of stick with it. You got to put yourself kind of in that speed of a movie where it takes its time, not dragging per se, but it definitely takes its time to unfold and becomes more and more full of dread and uncomfortability as it continues. But there's so many just beautiful, fantastic shots in this movie of just landscape and just the cinematography, as well as, like I said, her performance. I think this is an incredible movie and one that if you've never seen it, it needs to be the next thing that you watch. But I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Do yourself a favor. Pick one of the movies off of here, grab some popcorn and some candy, and enjoy! All right, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week. I also want to give a huge massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. And if you would like to help support the channel and find out more about Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member and get a cool little logo icon, there's a little button right down there that says join. And I also want to give a huge special thank you to Amanda. She sent me this. She's a patron and a channel member. She does both. And she's just a huge supporter of the channel, amazing. But she sent me this past week, and it is so rad. I'm so excited about it. And it even comes apart. It's not easy to get apart, but yeah, it does come apart. I'd show you, but then I probably couldn't get it back together. But yeah, so I love that, and I want to just give her a huge thank you. I love that. I just love getting stuff like a big kid, man. Toys are the best. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, guys, horror can be fun. If you enjoyed this, click right here to watch another 10 amazing movies over on Tubi. And I'll see you guys next time.